Welcome to Conversations That Matter.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about Pathways. What is Pathways?
Sure. Pathways Clubhouse is a kind of considered a community center for people who might be living with mental illness. And it's a rehabilitation program that people are able to come to on a volunteer basis at a time of their choice to be involved in operating the center. Besides operating the center that has many different units, our goal is for them not to need us. So we help them with getting a job, getting a home, going back to school, having a social life, meeting new friends, being connected with community supports. Depending upon their needs, we're there for them. It's almost like a one-stop shopping. But when you walk in, it seems like a community center.
But it is a drop-in. It's not live-in.
No.
It's you're not there full-time care.
Yeah.
So you're talking about dealing with people who are functional.
That's right.
But have some kind of mental disorder that impairs their ability to maybe have a job or carry on a relationship or something of that nature.
That's right. And many of our members do have jobs, but they need the other connections with the community that they might struggle with. Say, for example, they might have a entry-level job, but just like everybody else in society, they want to have a career. And in order to get that career, they need to further their education, whether it's finishing their high school or getting their master's. That's once again where we help and support them to get that.
Why is it important that organizations like yours exist? Why do we need them?
I think we need them because all of us know somebody living with mental illness. Either even including yourself, you know somebody, a loved one, a neighbor, a coworker, a relative who has mental health issues and that. And so it affects not only the person living with mental illness, but also affects those who are connected or loved by them. And we all know that people with mental health issues have certain struggles that they just need that little bit more support to be full participating citizens in our community. Without that type of support, whether it's small or big, a lot of times people with living with mental illness can't succeed in reaching those goals.
So what kind of challenges are we talking about here? I have a little bit of discomfort around the term mental illness, especially with what you're talking about. I think it almost sounds to me like we're talking about somebody who has a challenge. It's happening psychologically or mentally. But is it an illness? And because at some point I think you kind of tip over a scale and it becomes more than that.
I believe it is an illness. It's something that's caused by dysfunction in their brain and that. And I think if we don't consider it an illness and we think it's something else, we can't be considered something like diabetes or cancer because it is actually an illness. I think the difference, though, is with mental illness, it causes certain behaviors that might happen that other illnesses wouldn't have, that causes them to have more issues with being able to survive in the community. And I like that you don't like the word illness. We often talk about mental health, and our goal is actually not talking about the illness, but talking about their wellness. Even though they're sick and might have these issues, all of them still have the same skill sets, same beliefs, same dreams, desires as everybody else has. But because of those issues, they have a hard time achieving them.
There must be so many different journeys in life or paths in life that lead somebody to a point where they are facing this challenge. I look at seemingly normal people and I wonder why more of us don't have mental challenges because it doesn't take much to go off track a bit. And so how do you help somebody like get back in so that they can function within society? Because really that's what it comes down to, doesn't it?
I think it depends upon what their needs are and depends upon the situation of the individual. 1 out of 5 people, once again, have experienced this or will experience it sometime in their lifetime. But
like
I think
directly?
Directly. Living, I myself have experienced depression and anxiety disorder as well too. But I'm okay. I've got a job, I got a home, I'm doing well. So there's and since I'm doing well, but I think we often think of people with mental health issues, of those with who might be homeless, have substance misuse issues, have, because of living in poverty, have moved towards crime situations as well. So too often we're thinking of people with mental health issues being at the extreme end. But there's some of us, if we didn't get the support and being in a loving community, we might be in the same boat, even though we might have small battles with depression or bipolar disorder or anxiety.
Because we can fall through the cracks, or there isn't somebody there to help.
I think a lot of times there's somebody who's not there, or you don't get the help and treatment when you're first experiencing those issues, or even accepting the fact that you've got something going on and you try to get help. A lot of times people think, I'm just having low mood swings, or I can pull through it and that. And sometimes you need more than just thinking you can pull through or popping a pill. It takes more than that.
So let's say it starts with me. I'm having a rough couple of days at work. My boss gets mad at me. My spouse, my partner isn't happy. And things start to weigh down on me, and I start to feel the weight of the world. I start to drink a little bit too much. And I start to go on this downward spiral. The people around you, they're watching this decline. Because we can see it in those who we know. And yet, at times we go, well, I don't know how to pull you out of it. Like, snap out of it. What? So, not just talking about the individual, but people who are around somebody, when you start to see them, having trouble. What can we do in our own behavior to make sure that we don't make it worse, and at best help them go the other way?
That's right. Very common, and there's so many different approaches. I think, if you see somebody who might be experiencing that and doing the spiral, how would you talk to them about any other situation? I wouldn't want to treat the person any differently. Let them know that they're loved, they're supported, if there's anything I can do. A lot of times people who are experiencing that spiral, first of all, aren't willing to accept it and will continue on. And
they'll
I'm
deny
okay.
it themselves.
Totally in that. But I think, if a person's willing to get the support, that you're willing to be there to help them, that's great. Or if they continue to spiral, even while they're spiraling and they hit the end of the pit there, that you're there to support them.
But that's hard to do.
Sure is.
Our office is in a part of town where there are people who have slipped beyond that, and I've gotten to know a number of them over the years, and I see them, and I get to know some of these people who are facing now what have become monumental challenges. I maybe met them 10, 12 years ago and it wasn't so monumental. Now it's life. It's starting to become life and death, and I'm going, okay, well, I can only do this much, and you're getting me at the wrong moment, or you wore me out at the moment, go away for a while, or what. And so how do we as a society get over that? Because we're all human beings as well.
That's right. Acceptance, I think, is the first thing. Even willing to, if they aren't willing to get help or accept help, still be there to support them even when they go over that. I don't think there's any magic answer, and I wish there was. And if there was a magic answer, we wouldn't have the issue that we have in our community right now. But I also think it goes back to relationships. It's just being there for that person.
So where do you come in? So let's, in the continuum of I know somebody now who's in trouble, and let's say they're not at the point of a willingness to accept that there is a challenge, because that is part of the path to recovery, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
But where do you come in? How do I connect somebody with you and the services that you're providing?
So if a person themselves aren't willing to accept some sort of support, we actually have a mental health education program where we'll support you as a caring person of how to deal with your friend while they're having these struggles, how to be able to approach them when they're in denial, or be able to support them when they continue to plummet. So for us to step in when they aren't willing to accept or come in voluntarily to get our type of support, we're there to support you while they're struggling.
So this leads me to when you have mental health challenges, you're going in that direction. Suicide, many people look at as being their permanent solution for what hopefully could be a temporary challenge. How do we work together to help people not make that choice?
That's tough.
I know it is.
It's very common. We don't hear about it. The only time we seem to hear about it is when some celebrity has committed suicide. And it almost, I think some of my experience, for those who really want to succeed in committing suicide, they don't want us to know how they're feeling. The celebrities that we hear about we're quite shocked about, and of course the most recent one with Robin Williams. Everyone's quite floored about it because he seems so happy and wonderful. But that's also with the rest of society as well too, for those who really want to succeed in ending their life in that. So there are some signs that you can see when people are starting to have those thoughts where loss of sleep or isolating themselves, but that's still not going to fix their or help you to be able to help the person from not committing suicide, because you know a lot of times you aren't aware of it beforehand. You know.
I've heard that one of the tall tale signs is people starting to give stuff away. But then it's like, well, no, that's not a guarantee either.
No, that happens all the time as well too. There's many signs, and I know for ourselves, if someone's saying like, you know what, I'm not feeling happy, I want to end my life, and they might have had these feelings before and talked about it, we never believe in the cry wolf. We're always there to intervene, support, make sure it doesn't happen in that, because there could be that time that they would. But for those, sometimes it happens where we had no idea how they're feeling. They held it in and were quite surprised and shocked about it. So to have the quick, you know, this is what you should pay attention all the time, I don't have that. I don't. It's sad. It's sad.
This is an issue that is important to me because my life has been touched by suicide. And like, I don't know what the answers are. And yet, like, I thought, okay, well, you're just depressed. And the next thing I know, they're gone. And I never would have expected that. And what we're talking about here is mental illness. You know, when it comes to that, isn't it? So, is Pathways Clubhouse there just for the person who's dealing with the affliction? Or is it there also for their friends and family, so that I could come to you and say, I'm not the one with the challenge right at the moment, but I'm concerned. What can you do to help me? Like, do you provide that kind of?
We do.
You do.
Because you do have the challenge.
Because it's hard for the person who's not feeling well to reach out. I think it's even harder for family to reach out.
Because you're really struggling knowing what to do, knowing what resources are out there in your community as well, but actually how to help that person where you know that they're really struggling. We're there maybe not to fix, but to provide you with resources, to be an ear as well. If you need us to help, to intervene, to meet with the person as well too. We gear our services around the individual. So if you're a loved one or a friend of an individual, we gear our services around you, not you fitting into what we do. So and that's part of our mental health education program for individuals to businesses. We've actually done mental health training of how to deal with a person who is has mental illness with the Richmond RCMP. We did Canada Border Services Agency, transit police as well. So, so we do the large groups, but it's also for, I got a kid, you know, my mom, you know, which is really sometimes harder. You know, as well, because you're more personally invested. And
I know somebody who intervened because they were worried that a person that they knew was potentially going to commit suicide. They intervened and they like aggressively intervened to get help for that person. So the person who was at risk is alive still, but furious with the person who intervened. Like, how dare you? And so what do you say to somebody like that?
I'm surprised, because I've done it on a few occasions as well, and intervened. And after the fact, I've always been thanked. So that's a little bit different for me. Once they're well, and you know, that was kind of silly of me to attempt that or feel that way. So I haven't experienced somebody being mad at me afterwards.
Well, my reaction to that is, but they're alive.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay.
I don't care.
If that's part of the price that you pay for
Yeah.
ensuring that they're alive, well, then go
Yeah.
ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But it brings up the issue. Like, you are now starting to walk into somebody else's life.
That's right.
And saying, I'm going to interfere.
Yeah.
And do you have to be willing to do that as a support person?
I think if they're using our services, I have an obligation to that individual where I believe that they're not well at the time and they are not making a properly informed decision. I feel obligated as not just an employee, but a person cares about that individual, that I care more about you living than you not living, and you might be choked at me afterwards, but it is what it is. Yeah.
So, people commit suicide for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Depression might be one of them. Schizophrenia could be another, and so on. So for each person who could be on the edge, where life does not look like it's worth living to them, how do you then start to develop a program? Because there's so many different journeys to that point. How do you develop the program that helps them move away from that and hopefully onto a more enjoyable and productive life?
We haven't developed something like that, we ourselves personally, and I'm not aware of an organization that does. We kind of gear a lot more of our services when a person has been sick for a while,
right?
And also for the loved ones or friends while they've been sick for a bit. That would be a great, and I think, like. Even though I think major strides have been made regarding the stigma attached to people with mental health issues, and that maybe that continues and develops and grows, and a person knowing that, I'm feeling like ending my life right now, and it's okay now for that I'm not going to be shunned or I should be embarrassed that I feel this way. If we're being more open about these that I'm experiencing these mental health issues, that might help prevent, and I will stop myself and talk to someone before I actually
before you even get to that point.
I would hope so, and I think that's
and I think this is where you come in, isn't it?
I think
if somebody can get that kind of assistance from you in advance of getting to that point. What then are the important building blocks in helping somebody to stabilize and improve the quality of their life?
Sure. So a lot of folks too, when having mental health challenges, they have a hard time holding down a job. They lost their connection with family, loved ones, or their friends. Home life because of financial issues. Their living accommodations might be a challenge, or they might be homeless. Our work is for you not to need us anymore. So our work is, if you have a dream career job, our goal is to help you get that. And it might be whether you get your GED to your master's, starting with the entry-level position to being the president of whatever corporation. For those also who might be living in a shelter or homeless, to have not housing, but a home. So, and a home that's safe, affordable, and supported.
Right.
If a person's living on their own and still might be having some struggles, we will support you, come visit you, help you with cooking, shopping, as much as you need, and then back off as much as you need, and still check up to make sure everything's okay. You're a member for life, and there's no more restarting in that. And we're there to help you at whatever stage you are with your recovery. So if you just need help with everything, we're there for you. If you just need a job, we're there for you.
So do you help them get jobs? Do you interact with employers? And wow.
Yeah, we have a program called Transitional Employment, and what it is I'll make it really quick in a brief overview, but we'll have an employer who has a position, entry-level position. So what happens, I as a staff person, I'll go in, I will learn that job. You don't pay me, and I'll probably a couple of us staff in, and I think this would be good for our many of our members. After I learned the job and the employer's happy and we're happy, then we'll bring in a member, and then the employer doesn't have to worry about it anymore. We train the member, we support the member whenever there might be issues. The employer never has to deal with it. We go in and intervene. Say a member can't show up, they might have an appointment that day, I'll go in and I'll work for free to keep that job. So it's those great guarantees with the employer that you teach us once, that's it, and that job will be done to your satisfaction for life. After 6 to 9 months, because it's an entry-level position. We want our members to experience different types of jobs. We'll switch it into another member, and once again, we'll train another member. That member, okay, I've tried maintenance, I've tried food services, I've tried clerical. Okay, I want to work in this field. Then we'll help them get that career dream job.
Are they getting paid when they do this by the
They get
employer?
paid the same wage as everybody else that's working there.
And it's the employer who's paying
The
them.
employer, directly by the employer. We don't provide any subsidies, and I think it's a lot because
So
of the
what
guarantees.
do you do to an employer? Like, what do you say to an employer to convince them that this is worth their investment in other people? Because there's a lot of employers that go, you want me to do what?
Yes, and you're going to be working with people with mental health issues, and once again, there's still that stigma out there, working in a kitchen where there's knives, and you know, all of a sudden people are thinking, we got one of the best employers in Richmond, Cactus Club, who's provided one of our members with a transitional employment job that has taken him under his wing, where he's now working on his Red Seal ticket to be a chef. You know, that's the type of employer to have, because I think we've proven that we've gone to actually some job sites and we're training the member, and the employer asks, when are you going to bring the member in? So a lot of times you don't know that the member's there. To get the foot in the door, a lot of times it might be an employer who likes the guarantees. It might be an employer who wants to give back to the community. It might be an employer that, you know, I've had this job and I'm having turnover all the time. I kind of get fed up, and if you can do it, we'll take it over.
So you came in here wanting to discuss this because you're hoping that people will watch this and understand.
That's right.
When they do, what would you like them to do to help you help others?
Yeah. I find that most people who believe in the work that they do is actually they come for a tour of our clubhouse, come for lunch, see what happens. A lot of times you won't know who's a member, who's a staff, and actually talk to members about what Pathways Clubhouse has done for their recovery. And some people who are coming in there are still really struggling, you know, and just come in for a meal. You know what? I'm glad you're here. You know, I'm glad you're not hanging out in the streets or feeling isolated or staying in your home. I'm glad you're here. But while you're here, there's lots of opportunities for you. So I think for those who want to really know or be able to contribute, come for a tour, give us a call. There's so many needs that our community has.
Do you work with volunteers as well?
We do. We do have some volunteers. We have some that are in the clubhouse, but we really need more support people volunteering in the community to help us with certain events and that. But I also, once again, you don't want to volunteer for our organization unless you check us out. You come in and understand what we do.
I get the feeling that's the number one thing you want people to do. Come and see us.
I think, you know what?
Come down for tea.
That's right. People can talk about how wonderful they are, but it's got to be firsthand experience. And it's not hearing it from me. It's hearing it from all our members who are attending. What does Pathways Clubhouse do for you?
So, to anybody who's interested, look you up on the website, reach out, and come on down and see us, and then see whether or not.
They'll know the way that they like to contribute to volunteer or help participate in some way.
I want to thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate you.
I wish you all the best.